And several times the defense reiterated that this young man's fate is in your hands. You have this big responsibility and you should not take it lightly at all. And then also he apologized, to the juries, like, hey, if suppose, you know, because if you were watching a video, you can tell the defense and the prosecution, they don't like each other at all. They don't like each other. So just in case, because of certain behaviors they may have displayed that they probably found was maybe unprofessional or irritating, we apologize. Please accept our apology. Um, we're sorry. But um, even though we may have gotten on your nerves, we may have irritated you guys, we may have given you some type of, complex about us, please don't take it on, Jamell. Please don't. Feel into the emotions. Also, the most important thing is that apologizing again, the fact that their lives have been disrupted. Because remember, when you're a jury, you are away from your family. They keep you, I think they keep you in a hotel and stuff like that. You can't be on social media. You can't be watching TV news or anything. You're just secluded. So imagine if you're not used to that, especially if you're an extrovert. You're not used to something like that. So that's hard for people. And then they were in this situation for like what, 2, 3 weeks. So now you have to eat what they gave you to eat. And so imagine if certain people, they have certain ways that they cook their food, you have to rely. So these people's lives have been disrupted for all this time. They were tired. They were tired and stuff like that. So, and I'm sure they didn't want to give even more time, even more days, because I think they deliberated for like 14 hours. So probably in the going back and forth, they saw, because they could have, oh, let's come back again probably on Monday. But it looked like whatever was going on in that jury room, they was not going to come to a decision anytime soon. And instead of, prolonging it and prolonging it, okay, we just can't decide. And then, of course, the judge made his decision, because the judge made the decision to declare a mistrial. And that's where we are now. So I saw this post from a page that is dedicated to, I guess, giving news on Jamell Demings, and they shared the polling of the jury. They shared the polling of the jury. 10 was for not guilty, and then 2 was for guilty. So there was like, yeah, he's coming home and stuff like that. Mind you, if whenever they decide to retry again, it's going to be a different jury. And then with the polling, was that, what charge was that? Was because remember, he was charged with two counts. He was charged with 2 counts, and then they had a 2-page um, instructions and things that they had to check off. Was he guilty of first degree, or of the lesser crime of manslaughter, or was he not guilty? And then it was a whole lot of stuff. If you found him guilty with a weapon, do you think he had a weapon or without a weapon, and stuff like that? But there's certain stuff that he had to check off. With the polling, did this polling come because of everything, or it was just for that first count? Was it for both counts? Because remember, they had to unanimously decide if he was guilty or not guilty of the first degree. And then if they, you know suppose they decide not guilty of first degree because of the evidence, but was he guilty of manslaughter or something like that? Because I think we all can agree he had something to do, that he had some type of role in this, what happened to these 2 young men. Because even the prosecution couldn't some places they decide They couldn't really decide really, whether he was a shooter or a principal. But according to where he was sitting, it it could potentially be him as the shooter, unless, like I said, no, I didn't say this before. This actually came to me. Unless the whoever was the person that did it was already in the car, probably in the truck, and then they did this. Or when they came to stop, the person opened the door, maybe pushed out Melly, or he got out and then did this. But I don't know, because remember, the prosecution said that Anthony Williams, he got hit in the head while he was sleeping. I couldn't get over that. While he was sleeping, he didn't even know what happened to him, and that was the shot that took him out. Maybe Christopher Thomas, he probably heard what was going on, and he kind of knew, yeah, I'm gonna die. But Anthony Williams didn't even have a chance because they got him in the head, and because he was sleeping. He was sleeping, and it's unfortunate. So unless you haven't been paying attention to the evidence of what happened, they had something to do with it. Because even when um, Cortland went to drop off, the bodies, the the person that was the security officer that was at the hospital was like, "You're lucky, you guys were in a drive-by and you're still alive. Nothing happened to you. You're very lucky. Yeah, you and Jamell are very lucky because that's that doesn't happen. That really, yes, there are miracles. There are miracles, but this is, some miracles that happen. People, pick at it. This is something they're gonna pick at because it doesn't happen. Let's look at Kenyatta Bullard, who's young and ace. When he had shared his location, they had him, his brother, and his two friends went to eat out. They shared their location, and then some people pulled up on them and did a drive-by. Everybody got hit. Everybody got hit. His brother died, and his two other friends died. Yes, Young and Ace got hit, but he was the lone survivor. Everybody else died. So that's unusual because the car was riddled with bullets. It was riddled with bullets. Because, or something happened. He has some type of information that he is not given. He does. And when they were interviewing, if you watched the interview or listened to the interview of Cortland Henry, when the detective asked him, "Be truthful. If you knew who did it," it's a yes or no question. "If you knew who did it, would you tell me?" And Courtney said, "Honestly," and it's like, you know what? I wouldn't, because I don't want to get involved in it. That's what he said. These Anthony Williams, Christopher Thomas was his friend since he was in high school or middle school or what? I think high school or middle school. So they known each other for, according to him, like 5 years. When they was asking him, he was like years and years, but supposedly 5 years. And that's how you treat your friend. You more willing to. It's like you more loyal to the person who if you knew did it, you more loyal to them than your friends that you knew for years. And if he had that type of thinking, he could have put that on Jamell, because remember, and there's a text message that Jamell was allegedly having with his girlfriend. Um, what's her name? Hamilton. I don't remember the first name. And he was saying, he has to be with Cortland, because if he don't, the people gonna get him because he did this some real thing for him. Only God knows what that means. So that was the alleged conversation that they had on each other. So if Cortland thought about that, hey, we probably know who did it, but we're not going to say anything because we don't want to get involved in this, even though they are involved. Even though they are involved. So this mistrial, I guess a lot of people was thinking that, Jamell gonna get out or whatever. It could happen. But the only reason why he probably not gonna get out right now, remember that even though he didn't have gun GSR on him, Cortland had GSR on his clothing, I believe. But where he was sitting, where Jamell was sitting, that indicated he was the alleged shooter. And that's why he didn't get bond because of that. Because when they went to argue, whatever, he lost. He lost because it showed that, he was the alleged shooter. And if he's the alleged shooter, hey, you might skip out on bond. We can't take the chance. So that's why he didn't get bond. But Cortland did. Cortland did because, I guess when they look at where they were supposedly sitting, so that's why Cortland is on house arrest. So then we're going to look at Cortland Henry. Let's look at Cortland Henry, whose trial is supposed to be coming up very soon. His trial is supposed to come up very soon. And he has a lot of explaining to do. He has a lot of explaining to, because remember, he was the driver. He was the supposed driver. And then the thing is, the places that he said this is where it happened, there's no trace, there's no evidence at all that something occurred there. That something occurred there. They went, because where he said that it happened, getting off of Miramar Parkway, I know that place very well because I have a family member that lives in the community, the community in that area. So I know that area has that 3-lane where you have to turn and things like that. And on the side, it's like this open field, grassy field. So if this was happening, he was going to lose control and go into that open field. He did say he almost, he was trying to control, he's trying to drive and then make sure that he didn't get hit. But he didn't find anything there. So he was not being forthcoming at all. He was not being forthcoming at all. And then he stated that, hey, even if I knew, he answered, even if he knew, and he answered, even if he knew who did it, he most likely not going to get involved because he just don't want to get involved in those stuff, because even though that's his friends, he's not going to get involved in that. And then he had GSR on his clothing. I'm not sure if he had it on his fingers, but anyway, we'll find that out when court begins. But a lot of things point to Cortland. A lot of things point to Cortland, even though he's the one who got, who won, that he could get bond. A lot of things point to him. A lot of things does not make sense. A lot of things don't make sense at all. But I don't know. But it doesn't look good for Cortland at all. It doesn't look good for Cortland. So there's a lot of things he's gonna have to explain. Yes, it's circumstantial, but the circumstantials look, it looked like he good for it. Whenever they decide to retry this case, they really, really need to take off this death penalty thing, because their evidence is not enough to support a conviction for death penalty. It's not. It doesn't even make sense. And even with the life without the possibility of parole, maybe life with a possibility of parole after a few years, maybe that, but without the possibility of parole, the evidence is not concrete enough, in my opinion, to get that type of conviction. That's most likely why the jury was so conflicted. Yes, there's evidence that showed that, something happened, he had something to do with it, but it was not concrete. It was not enough, to for this young man to lose his life, or for this young man to, spend the rest of his life in prison. It was not enough. So they really need to rethink those charges. That it was, and then the evidence, come on, the evidence was a lot. It was a lot of evidence. It was a lot of evidence. They had the burden of proof to present and to convince the jury that this is what happened. But it was a lot of evidence. It was a lot. It was a lot for people to digest. It was too much. It was 2 months. So they really gonna have to rethink that, at least to get a conviction, some type of conviction. But then even if he were to beat this case, because he has done before, if you know about his life, he's gotten certain stuff and he has beaten it. But what did he learn from all of this? What did he learn? You know, yes, he's coming home, but will he stay home? Will he stay home? Because it seems like he's always getting in, every few years, maybe every few months, getting in some type of thing that is going to derail his success, derail his career. Because, like I said before, it's a, he does not have the right people around him. Or at least, even if all these people they supposed to be around him, whatever, but at least one person that you listen to, that he's scared of, before he do something, he's like, I don't know if I should do this. He's able to think and say, I don't think I should do this because so and so is not gonna like it. Does he have somebody like that? Because he has his mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. What type of influence do they have on him? Like, I don't know. So he could finish beat this and then few months later, few years later, get caught up again in another case. Because he's used to beating cases. So since he's used to beating cases, that does not deter his behavior. That does not deter his decision making and getting into trouble. Because hey, I always beat the case. I always know how to pick the right lawyers. I got the money to pick the right lawyers because I got the talent and I make the money. So I always beat my case. But just like Samson, he always got the Philistines. No matter what, it always looked like it might have looked like what they're gonna get him. Nope, he got them. But one day, when he slipped up, he thought that he had the Spirit of the Lord, but he did not know the Spirit of the Lord had left him, and he got. And then his that's how his life went downhill, and then he eventually lost his life. Sometimes we're given so many chances and we do not take. You escape death. You get some certain places you're supposed to get in trouble. You're supposed to lose certain things, and then you were graced and nothing happened, or you beat it, and then we don't take that as a learn. Hey, I really need to tighten up. I really need to stop. We don't take that, and then that's how we get hemmed up, and then it's over for us. Anyway, that's all I had to say about this situation. Not really going to go over the prosecution, but like I said, with the inquiry that the jury asked, and then how the defense picked apart their evidence and then appealed to the emotion and humanity of the jury, it was no shock that there was a mistrial. There was no shock. Now, how the second trial is going to be, they really need to change a lot of things if they want a conviction, because something happened to those two young men. Something happened to those two young men, and Jamell and Cortland are one of the two people that knew what happened. And if before I even finish, I was hoping that the prosecution, as the defense did, well, she went first, and then the defense came, to, hey, Jamell's mom, even though she's not able to hug him and touch him, but she's able to talk to him, he is there. But Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams' mother and family, they won't ever have them again. All they have is memories and pictures and videos and stuff like that. I mean, why not bring their feelings and their emotions into a closing argument? That I did not understand. But anyway, that's all I had to say about this case. So anyway, that's all I had to say about this case. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.